God bless you guys. How are you doing? I just want to start out today by saying thank you for the people that have helped me. You know who you are. God bless you for sending me money financially. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. It continually helps me. Every little bit counts. It might seem like it's a small amount to you, but every bit helps for me because being in my car for the last 4 years, it was tough. Last night I was sleeping and then woke up to police right near my car with flashlights. I mean, they're investigating some other people that were sleeping in their van behind me. And, if you never know what that experience is like, trust me, you don't really want to know what it's like. You might think, well, you can handle it, but it's really rough. I mean, you've got police that treat you like you're absolute criminals. I mean, I don't lie, I don't cheat, I don't steal. I've been advancing the kingdom for 13 years. I was actually getting ready to read my Bible. And you just get them out there, putting flashlights in your car, and they'll practically haul you off to jail. The U.S. Supreme Court's getting ready to pass a bill to talk about that, so we'll see what happens. But please, if you continue to send me money, those out there haven't sent me money, I would appreciate every little bit counts. You can just click on my video links, any of my video titles, and the PayPal link is below. You can see the PayPal link below my videos, and you can click on that and send me money. I would appreciate every little bit counts to get me off these streets, to help my twin brother who's sick. I gave him some money to help him because he's having a hard time, so thank you very much for that. I greatly appreciate you sending money, and encourage those who also, because remember what Jesus said: when I was poor, you never helped me. When I was sick, you never visited me. When I was in prison, you never visited me. When I was sick, you never cared for me. When I was a stranger, you never invited me in. When were you poor? When were you sick? When were you in visiting? The way you treated the least of these, you treated me. And he ends up throwing Christians into hell because of it. Because if you're not bearing fruit for Jesus, I mean, remember Paul and the disciples helped each other. They got help from people when they went into town. Paul was never sleeping on the side of a street somewhere. Peter was never sleeping near a garbage can somewhere, because that would be the equivalent of being in your car today, sleeping on the streets. And Paul never did that. So please help me encourage it. The U.S. Supreme Court is getting ready to weigh in on the anti-camping law, which is a very big decision. So let's hope that they vote in favor of defending the constitutional rights, because a lot of people have been dragged from their cars, thrown into jail, beaten, harassed, threatened, you name it, from the police. And the new thing the police want to do, the argument at the U.S. Supreme Court was, Newsom argued this, believe it or not, was that he felt that the idea was he needs to have everybody arrested, and then he can put them all into government-sponsored facilities where he can do this to them and take their rights away. And he said the reason why there's homeless people, it doesn't have anything to do with the rent's been out of control. Nobody wants to talk about the rent that's doubling and tripling all over America, especially in California, in Southern California where I live, where rent is just completely out of control. LA, Orange County areas are just out of control. I used to live on the beach 31 years ago, right on the sand, and I paid... First, I lived near the Balboa Pier at the end of the peninsula, which is where all the $1 million mansions are at. And I was just working at a restaurant, and I paid $350 for a studio. And pretty much all in LA, when I lived throughout LA, because I've lived half my life in Orange County, half my life in LA. In LA, everywhere a studio was $350. Some places were $250 if it was kind of a bad area like North Hollywood, but in the Valley, generally speaking, it was all about $300 to $350. That was your standard studio. $400 was like a nice studio, but no, I remember nobody wanted the studio, so I always rented the studio because everybody wanted the one bedrooms, and the one bedrooms were always $500 a month to $550. So you could work a regular minimum wage job and you'd be able to pay your $550 of rent. But now the rent, and then I decided to live on the beach in Orange County on 17th Street, and I was paying $700 for a one bedroom on the beach. The backyard was my beach 31 years ago. Now that same apartment's going for $2,600. It went from $700 to $2,600. You can't even make that on a minimum wage job. In fact, you can't even, if you work 7 days a week, you would just barely make that money. You'd pay your bills, you wouldn't have any money for rent. It's just that insane. So, and of course, that's why the landlord's been tossing everybody out in the street, and that's why I got thrown out in the street, because me and my twin brother, because they've just been raising the rent, so they just dumped me and my twin brother out in the street, and every apartment we've gone to, they've done that. So the anti-camping law, they're visiting it now. They're supposed to make a decision in this month, and it's heavy with the U.S. Supreme Court. I pray, as corrupt as the U.S. Supreme Court is, that they'll just, God knows, Lord, put the love of Christ in these wicked, filthy, evil people that just don't care about people. The problem you have is U.S. Supreme Court is rich. The government is rich. The president is rich. All Congress is rich. Everybody's rich. So they're not affected by it. If they pass, for instance, if they pass that law and they go against anti-camping laws and they allow the state to have power to arrest people, what'll happen is in every state in America, which will happen literally in 2 weeks, they'll go through and they'll take everybody and throw them in jail. And the judge's argument, the federal appeal, this was an Oregon law that happened where they took some man in Oregon and arrested him. He's homeless. It's called the Grant Pass Oregon law, and the federal appeal said you can't do this. However, the state is now taken to the Supreme Court, which they have, and the U.S. Supreme Court's getting ready to hear this case. In fact, they're ready to make a decision, actually. I believe they already heard arguments on this case. And the argument from the state, Newsom, and everyone else is that the reason why there's homelessness, it has nothing to do with the rent being raised and the greedy landlords. Oh, no. What it has to do with the fact is that you have not given us the power as a state to go arrest everybody and put them in jail. And if we had the power, then we could drag them all to jail, do this to them, and send them off somewhere. Take all their possessions and just, kill them, whatever, who cares? That's basically Newsom's argument. If you can actually believe it or not, as wicked as that man is, and boy, I tell you, there's a day in hell for that man. He will be, the Lord showed me the pit of hell he'll be in, because I have discernment, and the Lord's given me the ability to see into people's lives and see whether they're going to hell or not and what it looks like. And let me tell you, the screams that he comes from in hell are just really, really bad. I mean, the torture he's going to endure is horrendous, because this man does not serve the Lord. He serves wickedness, money. He gets paid off all the time. He's been paid off so many times. If you, for instance, Panera Bread, his best friend worked at a high school. He went to high school with his friend, and his friend owns Panera Bread. So his friend sent him $150,000. Newsom collected the money and then gave him an exemption, said, you don't have to honor the federal law about paying a minimum wage. Don't worry about it, because you gave me $150,000. I mean, the list goes on. The $1.28 billion train that he invested our taxpayer dollars in Newsom, they can't figure out where the money's at. What's going on with the money? The $24 billion. Get this. Newsom spent $24 billion, that's billion dollars on the homeless program in California, and they can't figure out where the money went. Newsom has no accountability. They can't explain how did he lose $24 billion? I'll tell you where it's at. It's in his pockets. The government, what the state does, and Newsom's been doing, all these federal people, it's like a money laundering like the mafia does. They take a regular business. So what happens, the taxpayer dollars come to them, and they can't just put it directly in their pocket, because that would be obvious, right? So what they do is they take that money and they put it in the train program, they put it in the homeless program, and then from there they facilitate it back to their pockets. So nothing ever got spent on the homeless program. In fact, the city of LA, Los Angeles, says that they spent $3 million. They spend like close to $500 million, somehow almost $1 billion on the homeless program. You still see Skid Row, those poor people still there. But they spend literally $3 million on the city of LA, spent one area of $3 million to take people and put them in shelters. And they said there was only 2 people out of $3 million that were able to be put in shelters. And they said supposedly they helped 318 people, but nobody knows what happened to the money. Once again, it's all fraud and all crookedness. This is a money laundering. All the people have been doing it. They do it in Congress. They do it everywhere. They take all that money, they put it through some crazy, some business, and then their buddies that work at the business said, thanks for putting in our quote unquote train program, our homeless program, whatever. And then they just funnel the money. Then they just send them a check back to the congressman. The congressman puts it in their pocket. So it's been laundered through a business. This is what the mob's been doing for years. Now the federal government does it. Newsom has done it, and the state's done it. Newsom was supposed to be recalled, but somehow they weren't able to, the media, of course, is all propaganda, said, hey, we did the votes and it seems like he won again. People were in lines out the door up and down California to get rid of Newsom. People don't line up to keep somebody in office. They line up to recall somebody. So this is all just crookedness, but that's kind of where we're at right now with the state of California. And unless in Trump's situation, unless the U.S. Supreme Court jumps and gets involved, he will be going to Rikers Island prison and they will off him. They will take him out and murder him just like they did Epstein. Within one day, he'll be gone. And they were interviewing, Sean Hannity was interviewing Trump last night, and Trump said, I'll do whatever I have to do. I'm like, don't be an ignorant fool. The problem I have with Trump is he doesn't have discernment. He's not a Christian. He doesn't have discernment. He cannot see the future. I predicted when he was in office, when he left office years ago, I said, this idiot, he is going to be arrested and they're going to put him in jail. Hire the military. You're the chief executive officer. If I was the president of the United States, I would hire the military. You can do that and count those votes. That election was fraudulent. Count the votes. You could hire the military to do it, but he didn't do that. So they came after him with a vengeance, and they did. And the scary thing, the Lord brought to me this decision today. He brought me these thoughts today, which were quite frightening, because he brings me this stuff. You know, a mocker seeks wisdom and finds none, but knowledge comes easily to the discerning. And part of what he brought me as with the discerning gift which was kind of scary, was that if they arrest Trump, there will be nothing stopping them from going door to door and arresting everyone else, because they'll have achieved their victory. The Lord kind of showed me that. They're going to execute him in prison. He'll be gone. All they have to do is pay somebody $1 million and go and kill him. He'll be gone. And after that, they'll just go door to door. And this is the B system. And this, I said, Lord, you can't do this, because you would be lying, and I'm holding it to you, Lord. You said, as in the days of Noah, people were eating and drinking in giving marriage before that they were destroyed, before Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. As in Lot, so as in the days of Noah, people were eating and drinking. What's he talking about? He's saying, when we get raptured, it will be the same as the days of Noah, which is they were eating and drinking. Same with the days of Lot. They were eating, drinking, and giving in marriage. Then suddenly destruction came on them as labor pains on a pregnant woman. They did not escape. So I said, Lord, don't you dare do that. You promised us that it would be 2 people in the field. They weren't running from the government. They were in the field working. One was taken, the other left. 2 women at a hand meal. They were working. One was taken, the other left. That means that they were in a working environment when the rapture occurred. They weren't running from the government. The government wasn't going door to door to round people up. That's the B system. That's going to take place very soon. That's the beast. But America's going to be wiped out anyway. It'll be destroyed by meteors and earthquakes, and hallelujah for that. Take America out and let's go, Lord. America's corrupt. We have 10 million people that have come across this country. Almost all of LA is pretty much illegal, I have to say. All of Los Angeles is 90% legal. Orange County is probably 50% illegal in Southern California, and the rest of the countries, they're all illegal. There's so many illegal immigrants, Mexican, Chinese, mainly Mexican, that have come in, and they just lie, cheat, and steal. They've taken a job, they've taken everything, and they don't care. And that was, Biden actually flew planes in to 25 states and flew in 100,000 illegal immigrants and just dropped them off in all the cities. Believe it or not, that's exactly what he did. He doesn't care. They don't care. Now all of a sudden he's pretending to care about the border. Oh, wait a minute, I'm getting ready to go up for election now, so let me pretend to care about the border. Oh, right, we have a 51-year high in year inflation. Food's gone through the roof. Gas prices have gone through the roof. Are you kidding me? And they're arresting Christians left and right. Anything related to any problems, they're arresting and put them in jail. And the two hated most people in this world are Christians and Jews. Who do you think the Antichrist is going to... Obama's doing all this, by the way. Who do you think is going to go after them in the end times? What 2 people will they go after more than anybody? The 2 that are most hated now, Christians and Jews. And so, Lord, I said, we got to go. You promised that it would be as in the days of Noah, people are eating, drinking, and giving in marriage. You promised that. I'm holding it to you. Trump has to, the U.S. Supreme Court has to step in, and they have to save Trump. They're looking at an immunity case for Trump, which is fake, because every president before him has had full sweeping immunity. They're the chief executive officer. They're immune from anything. So they're looking for that. If they can grant him his immunity, which I don't know why they're legislating from the bench. They don't need to legislate from the bench. The Constitution makes it very clear, and it's been a precedent with all presidents, Nixon and all of them. If put it this way, if Trump doesn't have an immunity, then they need to go back and arrest Obama. They have to arrest Biden because he's committed fraud, and Obama had people murdered on the war field. Bin Laden was murdered. They'd have to try him for that. All the presidents in the back, Bush, the Trumps, all of them, Bush, they would all have to be arrested because they've all had people killed. I mean, that's the reason why the president has immunity, because if he sends his troops out to war and somebody's killed, you're not going to try him for killing this person, right? I mean, he's the president of the United States. He's going to war, right? So this is kind of what's going on now. This is a big case. The U.S. Supreme Court has to see about the anti-camping laws. I hope they'll vote in favor of the homeless people. The fact that you can sleep in your car and you can't be arrested, that's essentially what the anti-camping law is about. If you can sleep on a sidewalk, originally in 1972 they passed a law U.S. Supreme Court said that just because, you know, they dragged some poor guy out of his car and beat him to a bloody death and then took him to court and we're going to throw him in jail. And the U.S. Supreme Court said just because you're financially having a hardship doesn't give the police a right to criminalize it. Because otherwise, the federal court on this case, on this Oregon case, said, well, why don't you just go to every car, right? Ferraris, Lamborghinis, go in rich neighborhoods and just drag them out of their car. I mean, if somebody's in their car and they're reading the Bible or they're taking a break or they're taking a nap, you know, then does that give you the right as a police officer to just go arrest them and put them in jail? I mean, if a family, there's families that come to Southern California beach all the time and they bring their RVs. Does that mean as a police officer, you should drag all the children and all the people out of the RV, beat them to a bloody pulp and drag them to prison because they're committing a crime, because they're sleeping in their car? Are you kidding me? I mean, because that's where we're going with it. We're heading into a police state. You can see the beast system. This is why we're getting raptured October 2nd on the next feast to be fulfilled, because we are headed to a one world beast system, and all this is coming too. All of it's coming. So I'm hoping that U.S. Supreme Court will vote in favor of our constitutional rights, to where you have a right to sleep in your car. You have a right to sit in your car. Nobody proves whether you're living in your car or not. And you have a right to be able to have your own possessions just because you're on a sidewalk. I mean, otherwise the police could just target anybody at any time. And that's exactly what they would do. And Newsom would do it. He's filthy wicked. All the governments across the country would just arrest people. All the police would arrest them and throw them all in jail. It would be horrific if the U.S. Supreme Court does not vote in favor of the constitutional rights that we have, that our Christian forefathers gave us. Also, they've got to step in on this case, immunity case. They have to remove this Juan Merchant, this illegal Colombian judge that was appointed by Michael Bloomberg to be a judge. Are you kidding me? I've never seen such filthy, trashy, illegal judges that are now judges now. They had an interview with Trump. Trump said if he becomes president again, that he will fire the Attorney General Merrick, who's just as corrupt as can be. So is the head of the FBI. He will fire him and he will just start arresting everybody. And I'm like, oh man, you bring the law down. We're Christians. You follow the law. We have a country established by laws. These laws were created by our forefathers, called the Constitution of the United States, called the Bill of Rights. If you break the laws, you go to jail. Congress seems to be able to do whatever they want to do. Newsom takes illegal bribes, no problem. Nobody does anything. Merrick, the Attorney General, goes in front of Congress last night and just lies and denies. They'll be in hell for it. But they held him in contempt, but he needs to go to jail. These people need to go to jail. The head of FBI, Cray, which God knows why Trump hired him. He's so corrupt. I was like, Trump, you should have asked me. I would have told you in 1 second. I've got to get the discernment. I can look in this man and go, this man's wicked. Hired him, and he is the one that was responsible for the going to Mar-a-Lago and having Trump arrested and trying to kill him. I mean, are you kidding me? And he lied and denied in front of Congress. They all do. So that's where we're at right now, guys. We have to just pray that we can make it to the rapture. I believe October 2nd, based on the Psalm 83 war that's heating up, all the fire that's happening in northern Israel the last few days, because Hezbollah's been firing missiles over, is now igniting the Israel-Hezbollah war, and Iran has vowed to take vengeance. So here we go again. It's heating up again. And by the time October 2nd, the next Feast of Trumpets, which is on October 2nd to the 4th, the No Man Knows the Day or Hour feast, I believe we have no choice but to go, because the 80-year generation is about to expire. Israel will be 76 and a half. You've only got 3.5 years left to get the 7 bowls, 7 seals, and 7 trumpets. Everything that's going to happen in the tribulation has to happen within those 3.5 years. Also, they have to rebuild the temple, and the 10th heifer is getting ready to be sacrificed. So we have got to go. So continue to pray for Trump. Continue to pray for the U.S. Supreme Court. Thank you for those who have helped me financially. Please, you can just click on any video link and you send money, PayPal. I greatly appreciate it. God bless you.